All right, so we've been talking about fiber products and how animals give us fiber with our 7th graders. And one of the big things we discuss is wool, because we have plenty of access to it thanks to the Ag Center. So this wool was sheared off by 7th and 8th graders at the Ag Center last semester. We saved some of it. Our 7th and 8th graders are actually shearing sheep tomorrow, so they'll get a first-hand experience with this also. But we were running some experiments on the wool today. We've been talking about it the last couple days in class, how wool has some awesome properties. The oily stuff that we can kind of sort of give it a yellow color here, and then we can feel on our hands, it's called lanolin. And the lanolin's job is to protect the sheep's skin and to protect the wool. And in our case, we'll actually take that lanolin and turn it into lip balm, lotions, hand creams. I get really dry hands in the winter, voila, hand cream with lanolin, or I just go play with my sheep for a while. So we talk about some of those things. We talk about how wool is elastic. But even so, one fiber of wool, if you were to put that under a microscope, has little barbs on it, which help keep it together and help make it stronger. Wool is actually extremely strong tensile strength. So if you actually take one strand of wool individually, it's actually stronger than one strand of individual steel, which most people are like, that's not true. It is, you can look it up. But the reason why steel gets used to build buildings instead of wool is because wool is elastic, so it's not going to have anti-bend like what your steel is, and we usually put steel together in mass quantities. We don't with wool. We also talk about how wool is fire resistant, which happens to be one of the kids' favorite. Who doesn't like playing with fire? So of course we have to run some experiments with that. Now, fire resistant means it will get burnt if you get it really hot, but you have to get it pretty hot to do that. This is why a lot of our firefighters' uniforms are actually lined with wool, or historically were, to help protect them from flames, and also because wool has insulating properties, which means it can keep things cool and it can keep things hot, depending on which way you need to look at it. A lot of the kids right now are wearing wool socks, so they can kind of associate with that in a hurry. So we take our dirty wool, we talk about how the vegetable matter, like our straw and stuff in there, could catch fire, which could cause it to burn a little bit, but also we've got lanolin in there to help protect it. Then we say, okay, we've got our wash wool, there's no vegetable matter in, and there's not as much lanolin, so it may or may not burn faster. So we have them kind of guess as to which one's gonna burn, or more likely burn, but as I always point out, it's not going to burn, because this little lighter is not gonna be hot enough just to burn our wool. So you'll probably see some flame, but if I move the flame, there's nothing happening. This stuff will not catch fire. Whereas if I were to do this with a piece of paper, it would go up in flames instantly. Most of us are very familiar with the smell of burnt hair, and part of the smell is the keratin actually burning in here. So keratin is a protein that helps make up, for us, our skin, our hair, fingernails, things like that. Keratin is also a protein in most of our animal fibers. So we say, wait a second, if wool is similar to hair in that regard, will it burn? Most of us have been told by our parents, don't go buy a candle, don't burn your hair, things like that. This is why. If we were to take our hair, which is not fire resistant, poof, it's practically gone. Or if we don't think it's gone, we'll just, burn it a little bit more here. And now we definitely get the smell of keratin kind of wafting through the air. And yes, chinchilla hair, for the record, does burn. The kids have experimented with that too. Not on the live chinchillas, for the record. So we talk about the different properties of wool, and then we give them a chance to dye, because another cool property of wool is it absorbs dye really easily, and it's actually very absorbent in general. So we get them to go wash a piece of wool. After they've washed a piece of wool, then what we do is we have them pick a color that they would like to dye. We got lots of options. We use vinegar to set the color in, just like you would if you were dyeing Easter eggs. We actually take that approach. We say, hey, you've dyed Easter eggs before, why do you use vinegar? Same reason, it sets the color. So we put our vinegar in. We choose our color. Blue has been a very popular color today, as has green, because they keep saying it looks like they sheared the Grinch. Or blue, they sheared a Smurf, whichever way they look at it. We add a little water, just to help us get the dye distributed evenly. And then we stir it in, and you can see how well the wool is gonna absorb this kind of as we go. And then after we get this going here and get all our water absorbed into here, then we throw it in the microwave. We'll pretend we're throwing that in the microwave, and wha-bam, we end up with our colored wool. So this is stuff that we did dye in some classes here. So we've got anywhere from our pinks and oranges to our greens to our yellows, purples, you name it, we've pretty much made it today, including one black, which didn't go so hot. But then we also talk about, okay, where does the dye come from? Historically, all of our dyes have been made with plant products. Whether that's vegetable matter, fruits, you can think of strawberries would dye stuff well, blueberries. Historically, all of our dyes in some way, shape, or form came from a plant-based product. And so now we use a lot of synthetic man-made stuff, which actually, a lot of that still goes back into our plant-related products at some point in time.